Hello, I'm Janet Dupree from Engagement Dynamics. Our Astute Women, Astute Leader and Astute Minds events are part of our global village ecosystem to raise astute leaders across the planet. On the 5th of March 2021, we partnered with great delight with the EMEA chapter of Keynote Women Speakers for an International Women's Day event, which we titled The Ripple Effect. I hope that you will enjoy this short, riveting presentation from that event.
And now it's my privilege to introduce you to Sonja Blignaut. Sonja is the founder and managing director, More Beyond, and the chief executive of Cognitive Edge International. She partners with people who need to navigate and make sense of and lead in uncertainty. She spans the boundaries of leadership, organizational development and change, strategy, risk, innovation, and marketing. Sonja teaches locally and internationally on complexity, the SANParks framework, ways finding, and enabling fluid organizations. She's certified in various individual and systemic coaching models and is a sought-after international and past TEDx speaker. I hand you over to Sonja.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thanks for the introduction. I think you can start the presentation. Yes, I've been working in the field of complexity, and it's also known by some as the science of uncertainty for 20 years. And I thought, when 2020 struck, that this is kind of the time that I have been preparing for my whole life. And then what I found was it's not only ripples of uncertainty, but waves. And what I think many of us find really disconcerting is that it's perpetual uncertainty now. I think one of the narratives that's being challenged is that stability is normal and uncertainty needs to be temporary, and then we can deal with it. But I think with COVID-19 and the events of 2020, many of us feel like everything that we used to think was stable has just been kind of knocked out from under us. And many of us, I think, feel a bit like the image that you're seeing on screen now. We feel a bit adrift. We feel like we've lost our bearings. There's no more solid ground beneath our feet. And this is really tiring, and it creates a lot of uncertainty. And I came across a blog post recently written by a rabbi that just really spoke to me. And he made this distinction between different ways that we are responding to uncertainty and to this anxiety. And one is exhaustion, and the other is depletion. And I just found the difference between these two things. So it just described where I was. Because, many of us, the key difference between these, is when you're exhausted and you rest, then it helps. If you're depleted, it's like a glass that's empty. You've run empty, and all you can really do is try and find ways to reinvigorate yourself. And so many of us went on holiday over December, and we found that we rested, but we came back, and yet we were still tired. It felt like we never even had a holiday. And so a question for me is, what are those things, those activities that can help with when I'm depleted? What is it that kind of fills my bucket, so to speak? And I was referred by a friend of mine, he's got a wonderful quote where he said, the key is to turn that anxiety into creative energy. And so I've been trying to think about, how do I kind of rejuvenate myself? And I want to present some of these, some of the things I discovered to you, because what I found was pre-COVID, many of these things just happened naturally, but now I need to be quite intentional about how I do this. And so there are 3 habits that I'm trying to cultivate. And the first one is to cultivate curiosity. I think if we can go back almost, I think children are all curious, but it kind of gets taught out of us. And the problem is in uncertainty, we are also in a place of not knowing. We are in a place of questions. And if we can embrace that, if we can embrace the unknowing and be curious about it, even be curious about our own responses to it, it immediately starts alleviating that anxiety. And so we need to make peace with with questions. And then the second, and this leads into that, is we need to embrace messiness. My husband reckons I'm way too good at this habit already, but the image that's on screen there is of a wildflower garden. And I think sometimes we expect the world to be nice and neat and manicured. But if you think about it, life is messy. We don't live neat, linear lives, and we can actually retreat into that messiness. So this is something that I'm really working hard at when things fall apart, is to embrace that messiness and to feel, especially to experience in that mess, there's opportunity. And then almost contrary to that is we need to create ritual and boundaries. I think for many of us, what's happened is those small little rituals, like a commute to work or changing clothes that helped us to switch identity, they're no longer there. So we need to create them for ourselves, and we need to practice healthy boundaries. The image on screen is kind of a way of saying no is an answer. We don't have to say yes to everything. We can have empathy with ourselves. And so these three things, to inhabit curiosity, to put in place rituals and boundaries, to embrace messiness, I think is such a key for us to be able to not only survive these ripples, but to surf these waves of uncertainty. Because I think the one thing is, this is not going away. We need to become wayfinders. We need to surf these waves of uncertainty. And I hope these three habits will be helpful for you in doing that. Thank you very much.